It's kind of ironic that black people taught the entire world about science when all other races were in complete darkness about the higher knowledge of existence. But today's generation of black people are generally afraid to represent or even claim their traditional scientific knowledge that elevated the entire earth. Thank God that the original teachers who protect the high science of black people are still chilling in Africa today with this knowledge. I'm talking about that wisdom that we use to build pyramids, huge temples, carve out statues the size of skyscrapers, travel the stars, ride earthquakes to expedite long distance travel, stay underwater for days at a time, identify our soulmates, and create plants and animals out of thin air, and much, much more. Very few people have the guts or the nuts to represent or stand on this divine cultural identity of our original society. Even though every single culture in Africa points you to this type of reality. These type of ancient truths intentionally get ignored and disregarded because many black leaders don't have the understanding of our divine roots, which prohibits them from speaking on it with confidence or defending it at all, especially when the so-called white man's scientific theories are being presented. All it takes is for a black person to hear a white man or woman theorizing in the name of science, and it strikes a fear and an intellectual submissiveness into the very core of the black person's psyche. It's actually a form of psychological trauma anytime a black person hears white folks theorizing on science from a supposed position of scientific authority. It's actually kind of funny to us ancient people who's had the same understanding of nature for millions of years, because these are the same scientific theories that change every 5 months. The same exact theories that get challenged and disproven by their own scientists, which is a clear indicator that, bitch, you guessing and freestyling without any means to an end. And at the end of the day, none of these theories to date have built any damn pyramids. They're just now, and I mean just now, alleging that they know how to transfer one's mentality or one's consciousness into another body, something that we've done for ever. And I only halfway believe them, by the way. And most importantly, but most underrated, they haven't provided us with any relevant prophecies concerning our liberation in order to give us the confidence we need to motivate us forward. The only prophecies we've received from these people are coming from 2,000 plus years ago. Our ancestors never had to rely on 2,000-year-old prophecies, people. There were always prophets and seers who were the high scientists that we respected living among us that provided us with the relevant signs and instructions for our liberation. These were the people who we always considered to be our true leaders, the ones who we trusted to truly develop and steer the development of our society. Even in ancient Egypt, the king, the ruler of the nation, was required to lift a huge stone pillar with nothing but his mind, and that pillar weighed tons. It was required of the ancient kings in order to validate their rulership so that the people would know that the kings were still in the graces of the ancestors. This type of majestic expectation still exists today within the Dagara tribe, according to our good brother Malidoma. Listen to the man for yourself so you don't think I'm making this up.
Your grandfather, who was your teacher, was also considered, would you say, a magician or a healer, a wise man? All of these things, I
Well, it's
guess.
actually, yeah, all of these things combined. You know, titles are very hard to come by in the village itself. But he was seen as one of the depository of the values of the ancestors, the values of the tribe. He performed a lot of healings on a daily basis on people, some of whom were coming from pretty far away, outside of the tribal limits, the village limits was most of the case. But he was also a person who was very versed in what I would call the science of magic, who knew how to surveil, for instance, the farm from his room. The farm was 8 miles away. And at night, for some reason, he had forgotten to sleep. And he would sit there and look through a clay pot full of water. And while you would see water, he would see the whole picture of the farm. And that, of course, if you want to look at it from a purely Western point of view, that's magical.
It's like crystal gazing.
Well, that's right, it's like crystal gazing. But it's also something that is based on certain subtle knowledge that only maybe a healer, a medicine man, and of course a priest of the traditional world is expected to know and to be able to demonstrate. Not publicly, but at least to show that these are the means by which he assumes his responsibilities.
Even the Kikuyu tribe of Mount Kenya, they didn't have to rely on 2,000-year-old prophecies. Their last major prophet was there just a couple hundred years ago. He warned them about the white folks coming and all of the atrocities that's taking place in Kenya today. Yeah, he warned that this generation would no longer heed the word of the Ajiru clan, who are the clan of seers in the Kikuyu tribe, the orators of the Most High. And yeah, there's a lot of turmoil taking place in Kenya and all over Africa because people have separated themselves from their cultural covenant. So, black folks in America, don't be like the current generation of Kenyans. Listen to the Ajiru clan. Why? Because they sent you specifically a message from the Most High. They said that many of us were sent here to the West in order to rule the world, and in this day and age, we will be blessed by God. They told us that we all need to know the importance of Mount Kenya and that we need to integrate it into our freedom fighting strategies the same way that they did in the 50s and 60s. So if we as black people are going to let these modern scientists be our new leaders, why is it that these leaders have not given us any prophecies or any instructions on how to liberate ourselves as black people and initiate black rulership? Instead, they actually do the opposite, and they theorize that in 50 years, everybody's going to be a mixed baby with light skin, recessive eye colors, and curly hair. These are very strange times that we're living in as black people. It's almost as if they transformed us into someone else. But personally, I don't care what type of science degree you have. Modern science will always and forever be a student to the revealers of Africa's secrets. I'm going to conclude this video by reading a short quote from the Ajiru clan elders. They are chiming in, and their final answer is this. They said, "The West must master the working of the brain before they force mechanical concepts of engineering in the construction of Egyptian edifice known in history as pyramids. Egyptian priests who were engineers applied the Gugi process to transport, lift, and align the very huge blocks of stones during the construction of the pyramids." Shaba.